95% of the people that start a business never think about. And that is, how do I duplicate this to scale? So, for example, a lot of people want to, I just want to be busy to busy. I just want to pay my bills. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But at some point, you building a business so that it can run without you to give you the return.
Yeah.
Most people don't think about, how do I do this and scale it, either without me or in multiple cities? Meaning, could you do what you guys do here in Hawaii, San Diego, Seattle, Denver, Boston, Bahamas? If the answer is no, then you've got to figure out there's a training challenge.
Yeah.
So you think about what kind of training systems and modules are set up to train other people to basically train yourself out of a job is what you want to do. The first thing you have to do is you have to decide, you have to look at the common traits of the A's and B's, group them together and say, what is the geographic? What is the financial situation? What age bracket? Are they older? Are they younger?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what is the problem that they have that you are solving for them?
Okay.
Because a business transaction doesn't happen if they don't have a problem and you don't have a solution.
Yep.
So once you can find their problem, now you know your target. Let's say on average, you say, hey, you know what? I did my study. They're males between 40 and 65 years old. They make over $200,000 a year. They no longer live on island. Okay, now we know who we're going. Now we have a target. What's their problem? Well, they don't live here and they just want to get the money out of it.
Right.
So my marketing message needs to go to that problem.
Yeah.
So now I know, I don't want the guys who don't have any money buying a deal from me because they're going to nickel and dime me to death. That's not my target. So, and same thing when you have buyers. What's our perfect buyer? What's our avatar? So that's the first part of owning a business is monetization.
Okay.
And making it recurring over and over again. So number 2 is admin. Admin is systemization. Okay. So when you think of systemization, if you look at the definition of a business, the definition of a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that runs without you and has a sale date. That's my definition. So think about that. If you break down that sentence, commercial, profitable enterprise means you sell something and make money for it.
Right.
Okay. Commercial, profitable enterprise that runs without you. That means it's got systems in place. The reason you have to have a sale date is not because you want to sell it, but if you want it to be considered a saleable asset, means it cannot have your imprint on it.
Right.
Okay.
It's got to run without you.
Right.
And it's got to through systemization and standardization. And you have to have a date. If you don't have a date, it will never happen.
Right.
So that's why you got to put a date on it. So when you talk to people that are starting out, the reason many people fail is they don't understand that they have a business. Right? If you own one rental property, you own a business. If you flip one property, you own a business.
Right.
The IRS says you're a business.
The
regulatory companies say you're a business.
Right.
Everyone says you're a business. You've got bookkeeping, profit, loss. The person who doesn't realize they're a business is the business owner.
The business owner.
So you've got to be able to systematize it. So I'll use my interpretation of an airline, right? Everyone has flown on an airplane at some point in their life, and you're sitting at the gate, and you see this big, like I fly, a Boeing 777 taxi up to the gate, holds 350 people.
Yeah.
It comes up to the gate, which is basically an apartment complex on wheels.
Yeah.
You have 350 people get off the plane. The baggage doors open. All of their bags get off, along with 100,000 pounds of cargo is unloaded.
Right.
You've got cleaners cleaning the airplane. You've got catering restocking the airplane.
Yeah.
Fuelers hook up the fuel. They start fueling it so it gets to the right destination with fuel.
Right.
All this happens. Bags get loaded back on. 350 people reload. Pilots are doing their flight planning, checking weather, making sure they can make the destination. All of this happens in an hour.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is nobody talks to anyone.
No.
So when you think of, think about it. You don't see people talk like, hey, what are you going to do today? Are you gonna
Everybody's just doing their thing.
Everyone's doing what they got to do. Get in, get out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So when you think about that, all of a sudden you're like, that is the key to running a successful business. Now that will happen in Tokyo, Japan, Sydney, Australia, Rio de Janeiro. That is a system.
You are.
We don't sit there and go, I wonder who's going to load the bags today. Is that me or is that you? Who's making this happen? So when you think of a system, that's a system, right? And so the question is that could you make your business do a dance? We call it the dance, right? When a plane comes up, it's like, that's the dance. So you want to make your business to have a dance. And when you think of what you do, from the time you send mailers out, the dance starts.
Yeah.
Right.
It's either a shit show and everything's going wrong, or it's this coordinated dance. And the ones that are successful, they have a dance.
Yeah.
And the ones, what people don't realize is a successful business is not this chaotic situation, dealing with issues, putting out fires. A successful business is actually boring.
Yeah.
Because it's so predictive.
Right.
You're not dealing, and most people have a reactive business and they have a reactive life. And when I ask someone, well, what did you do today? I coach a lot of investors and entrepreneurs, and I'll say, what'd you do today? And they're like, I don't know. I was just busy. I'm like, busy doing what? I don't know. Putting out fires. I'm like, you're running a reactive business. This is why you'll never get past the goal line. It's like driving your subdivision all day and you go, man, I drove all day long.
And you went nowhere.
I went nowhere. So that's number 2 in this process. Number 3 is the most important part that 95% of the people that start a business never think about. And that is, how do I duplicate this to scale? So for example, a lot of people want to, I just want to be busy to busy. I just want to pay my bills. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But at some point, you're building a business so that it can run without you to give you the return.
Yeah.
Most people don't think about, how do I do this and scale it, either without me or in multiple cities? Meaning, could you do what you guys do here in Hawaii, San Diego, Seattle, Denver, Boston, Bahamas? If the answer is no, then you've got to figure out there's a training challenge.
Yeah.
So you think about what kind of training systems and modules are set up to train other people, to basically train yourself out of a job is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. And a lot of times the reason we don't do that is we want to step in. We have the heroitis.
Yeah.
We want to step in and show people how smart we are. Because if all of a sudden, if they're doing all the things I'm doing,
what do I do?
What am I good for
What's
now?
my value?
So you know what? You're not doing it right. Get out of the way. I'll do it. And so I always tell people, do you ever wonder when you get on a plane, you always turn right? You get on the plane, you turn right, you sit down in your seat, you buckle up, you put your headphones on, do your kung fu kick down the aisle, and you sit down, and you blindly never met those people up front, and you are trusting them with your life.
Yep.
You don't know if they're having a good day, a bad day. You don't know anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
You buckle up, you put your headphones on, you're in another world.
Yeah.
If it all of a sudden got bumpy and turbulent and weather, would you run up to the cockpit and be like, hey guys, I think we need to go left of course for some weather. This is not working for me.
Right.
You would never do that.
No.
But yet in your business, that's what you do every day.
Yeah.
You're constantly telling people what to do. You wouldn't dream of doing that when people have their lives are in the pilot's hands, and you would never think of getting out of your seat when they put the seatbelt sign on.
Right.
But why don't you do that in your business? And I tell people all the time, in the airlines, pilots aren't perfect as much as we like to think we are. We're not perfect. We make fatal errors every flight.
Yeah.
Fatal errors.
Yeah.
The key is that the systems are set up to catch them. So we're not perfect. Our systems are perfect. And the systems, that's why flying is the safest thing you could do.
Right.
And so, again, going back to building a business, and again, this may be a bigger in-depth.
I love it. It's awesome.
When you're building a business, you've got to have those systems that are fail-safe, and you've got to train the people to scale. So you've got to build it to scale it, and you've got to build it to sell it. And if you don't have that in mind, all you've just done is created a job for yourself. And over time, it will burn you out.
Yeah.
And you will, if you don't have that option, you have 2 options. Number 1 is run it into the ground like a plane running out of fuel.
Right.
Number 2 is drop dead in the process of doing it. That's it. Those are your 2 options.
That's it.
And so a lot of times people don't think of the end goal. They don't think of how to get out of this. So, and again, some people may say, this is great, but I just want to flip a house. But what happens after that house is flipped?
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
Right.
Okay, I made a 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, maybe $1 million. I can tell you firsthand, and I know many people, a certain decimal point or comma in your bank account does not make you happy.
No.
It doesn't make you successful. I sold my company for millions of dollars. It didn't change me waking up the next day and going to the gym or not. It didn't change me.
Right.
It added fuel to my fire to be better.
Yeah.
And so, you can use that as a tool to get you to that next level, or it's your kryptonite and you'll never go further because it will be I tell people all the time, if you do not control your business, it will win. It'll win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It will beat you to the ground and it'll step on your throat until you cannot breathe and you go, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, people start with a dream of building a business, right? We all do this for a dream and we want a better life, but we stop there. We're not the CEO and the boss that we need to be. Mm-hmm. So I tell people all the time, when you own a business, you are the most responsible. You've got people that are believing in you that you're doing the right thing, but you're the one who's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you're so busy worrying about what everyone else is doing in your business, you're not actually doing what needs to be done.
Yeah, what you're supposed to do.
What you're supposed to do. You have jobs. You're not doing your job. So, you're letting down your team if you're not doing your job roles.
Right.
And so again, a lot of people have self-reflection that they're like, and we all get it. We all get it. It's not, I say this like it's easy. I know it's not easy, but you've got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And starting somewhere means planning with the end in mind and working that backwards. It's kind of like chopping the tree, right? Spend 45 minutes sharpening the axe, or you kill yourself for an hour and you get one tree.
And you get one tree, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question.
Right.
You mentioned kryptonite. So do you think that some people, this is kind of a heated question, do you think that some people can't or are not cut out, should not be in the world of entrepreneurship or investing or business ownership, that they're more suited for
WG?
Yeah.
Corporate world?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that everybody has a strength and everyone has a weakness, right? And look, we're all adults. We're pretty much who we are, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to change, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to learn how to slam dunk a basketball tomorrow.
Right.
Just not, as much as I would love to.
What about play pickleball?
Maybe pickleball. There we go.
We are doing that.
Yeah.
But everybody has a strength, and you've got to play to your strengths. And so a lot of times we may see what other people are doing and we go, I really want to do that. That is cool.
That's exciting. Yeah.
But that's not your strength.
Right.
And so you got to play to your strengths. So I am a big believer in personality profiling, of DISC profiling. And so, DISC is a D, an I, an S, and a C. And I used to teach it, but you can look it up on YouTube. There's tons of videos on DISC. But everyone is a different variation of DISC. Okay. And the reason this is important is if you take the D and the I, those are more extroverted people. If you take an S and a C, so a D and an I, a D is a very dominant, matter of fact, bullet pointed, to the point. You send someone a text message and you get back, yes.
Yes.
Like, which one? I asked you 5 questions. I said yes. Yeah, all.
Yeah.
And they talk in bullet points, and those are more CEOs, presidents. They're just matter of fact.
Yeah.
Then you have I's. I's are very social butterflies. They're chatty. They love to communicate. Then you have S's. They're more sentimental. They're emotional, right? Whenever a decision is made, they're thinking, how does it affect everyone else in the room? Right. They talk about their feelings. They're, that was such a pretty day. I'm not feeling good today. Did you hear how he talked to me? And then you have a C, who's a data compliant person. They're analytical. They love data and numbers, right?
Yeah.
So my point is you would never take a C, who's a data person, who's an accountant, and say you're now a salesperson.
Yeah.
That is a recipe for disaster. That is not their skill set.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you understand what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, you play to your strengths. And so some people have strengths, and I wouldn't even say corporate. I would just say, what is the role that they're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you think of, again, every business, and again, when people start a business, I believe that you have to have an organization chart, and you've got to have 2. One for how the company looks today, and then one, how the company is going to look maybe a year from now, 5 years from now.
Okay.
So that you have where you're going.
Yeah.
Of what staff you're going to, we were talking about virtual assistants. Well, what role? You don't just want to hire them. You want to strategically hire them per the org chart.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, every position in an organization chart has job description. They've got duties that they have to do. They have a KPI metrics of how you measure their job performance.
Right.
And there's a certain DISC profile for every position in a company. And so once you understand that DISC profile, you hire for that DISC. And so, going back to what you said about people, corporate or whatever, when you hire someone, I definitely believe you need DISC. You got to have, I think that you hire the personality. Like, when somebody does a resume, it's a glorified lie. Like, who's going to say, I mean, think about it. When someone sends your resume, I suck at this. I don't like working after 5, you know, I'm a bitch on Mondays. You're like, perfect. We're hired.
You're perfect. I want you.
Welcome aboard.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like the first date of a job, right? So again, when I had my company, we always hired based on DISC. That's what started the interview. Furthermore, the ad was based on their DISC. So when I would interview for salespeople, it would be worded like, are you a rock star that wants to make $300,000 a year? Do you want your own schedule? Do you want unlimited income? Do you want to be part of a team? That speaks to an I profile.
Right.
Totally.
If I'm an accountant, I'm going, hell no.
Yeah.
There's no stability in there.
Yeah.
Right. So when you talk to someone who's an accountant that's a C, it's like, do you like a steady work position? Or do you like spreadsheets? Do you like working with numbers?
Yeah.
Do you like to know what you're doing a week in advance?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to, there's certain trigger words.
Yeah.
Right.
So your ads should be set towards the DISC that it's going.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And so you're very, and what I would recommend when people hire to positions is you have the DISC, and then it goes, so the DISC is the first way to deselect people.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next is a form that they fill out, and you ask them questions in the form based on your company. That's the next way that they deselect. So if they don't even fill out the form, they're not even getting
Right.
They're not anybody you want anyways.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you're basically letting them do the work. So let's say you have 100 people, 50 people are the DISC that you want. So now you're down to 50. Then maybe 25 fill out the form. Of the 25, you like 10, you interview 5.
Yeah.
Right.
So now those are the ones that have risen, but it's automated, and it's, again, going back to what I told you earlier, it's all systemized.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So you literally want to disqualify people.
Yeah.
Through through the way
The
that
system.
your system.
And you let them disqualify themselves.
There you go. They disqualify
I have some
themselves.
people, they're like, oh, I'm trying to get an acquisitions person, and I've got 1,000 people apply. I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid.
That's
like, why would you? Like,
Yeah.
like, I don't have time to go through 1,000 people. I'm
No.
like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, what does the ad say? Are you even fishing with the right bait?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. You have the right hook?
Yeah, you don't want the ones that are not even the right people.
Right,
You know? So
right,
what does
right.
the ad say? And then take it through the funnel and let them deselect themselves.
That's cool. Yeah.
So that's how I would recommend people to hire.
If you're looking for a business coach, hire Steve Rozenberg.
Happy to talk.
All right, so back to you, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you've achieved so many things, different things.
Yeah.
What is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome to date?
Boy, that's a good question.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now, and again, we all have self-limiting beliefs, myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be speaking at an event it's a very large, there'll be, I think, 7,000 to 10,000 people that I'm a keynote
Wow.
for.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that is going to open up a lot more doors for me. There's some
Totally.
big names on the stage that I'm a part of. And so now I think to myself, okay, do I practice what I preach?
Yeah.
Do I step into that role as who I am? Do I have the confidence to step on that stage
Yeah.
and be the person that they want to see?
Can I rise to this occasion?
Can I rise to that occasion? And what I've learned is, I believe that life is a book, right? And we have chapters in a book. So a chapter is high school. A chapter is college.
Yeah.
A chapter was when I was flying just for the airlines and did nothing else. Chapters begin and chapters end.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I had my property management company, that was a chapter in my life. I felt after 7 years, that was the time to end that chapter. My business partner didn't want to. And our business was doing great. I mean,
Yeah.
we were killing it.
Yeah.
I was ready to go, and out of respect for me, he agreed to sell the company. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we got a big fucking check.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
You did all right.
Yeah.
You did all
I
right.
did all right. But he, in my mind, the chapter was over.
Yeah.
It was time to end the chapter. And a lot of times, we carry things over from the last chapter to the next chapter in our lives. Some good and some bad.
Yeah.
But if you're not making the chapter better, like a lot, again, we all have friends probably from high school that talk about the high school days, and that's where they live. They've never ended that chapter of their life.
Right.
And
So many.
And there's so many people that we know that talk about the time in our 20s when we'd party all night and this and that.
Yeah.
They've never closed that chapter of their life.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm constantly trying to get better to go to the next level.
Chapter.
And I'm trying to get to that next chapter. You know, I mean, I'm mentored by people who have private jets and spend a large amount of, or I invest a large amount of money to learn from them, because I don't put the value on money. I put the value on them, and I'm paying for their brain time, basically.
The relationship, the experience, to get to the next chapter.
Yeah, and so sometimes, I told you I spent time with one of my mentors, and it was a large investment for one day, and people are like, I would never do that. I'm like, but you'll never be where he is either.
Yeah. You'll never get to that chapter.
And I tell them, I agree, you never will.
Yeah.
I agree, you never will, and you will never have the results that this guy has. And sometimes we pay no matter what. We either pay from time, we pay money. You're paying for education.
No matter what.
Yeah.
You just don't realize it.
Right.
And our two most limiting factors are time and money. Which one do you want to do? Do you want to expedite this over the next 20 years and do it in a day?
Yeah.
Or do you just want to spend the money and go, I'm done?
Right.
Expedite, please.
Yeah. Whatever we can do to shorten that timeline. Let's do that.
That's right.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you doing to combat those self-limiting beliefs? Because it's an everyday thing, right? We're human.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so what I have learned is you don't just magically wake up one day and go, I'm this great guy.
I'm cured.
I'm a flower.
I'm great.
Today I'm a pickle and now I'm a flower. And so what you have to do is it's the rituals. Your rituals are your habits, and your habits become your patterns, and your patterns become who you are.
Okay.
So to me, it starts when you start your day. And I'm a big believer, and we talked about this when we did the challenge, where you've got to start your day, because that's starting your mind. You got to start somewhere. And let me back up. I tell people, you have a choice every day that you wake up to either be better than you were the day before or be worse. You're never the same. It's like water. It doesn't stand still. It's either going forward or going backwards or sideways, but it's moving. You have a choice every day. Are you going to be better than you were, or are you going to be worse? And if you don't make a choice, you made a choice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to be better. It was to be worse.
Right.
So every day I make that conscious decision to get up and be better than I was. So what do I have to do to be better? Well, the first thing I do is I will sit down and I will write out my 90-day goals. Nice. Which are tied to my 1-year goals. I write them out. There are 3 of them. And I got a lot of this from Brandon. Brandon Turner taught me a lot of this too, is I write the goals. And so what's one thing I've got to do to get to my 90-day goal, right?
Nice.
Maybe, and again, I break them into 3 parts: health, wealth, and relationship. Okay, so for wealth, money, I want a certain number this quarter.
Right.
So what is one thing I have to do today that's going to get me closer to that? Just one thing.
Okay.
That's it. What's one thing for health? Okay, go to the gym, right?
Yep.
For relationship with my wife, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Then I take those and I put them on the calendar, so they're non-negotiable. So I live on my calendar.
Block them in.
Yeah.
I block them in. I block it up.
You taught us that.
You taught us that.
Yes.
You taught us all this. And we do it, I promise.
So the next thing I do is I write my I am statements. And I am statements are so powerful because, and I definitely did not invent them. When I was reading books, I just noticed a lot of successful people all talked about this. And I'm like, well, if they're doing it, I guess I should try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started doing them about 7-8 years ago. And I didn't even know what to write. I'm like, they're like, write 20 and write them down every single day.
Yeah.
Every day, write them. And I'm like, okay, I'll do this.
Yeah.
And every day I write them down. And I would say, like, I'm a published author. I'm speaking. I'm a world-class speaker, traveling the world speaking. I'm making multi-million-dollars a year. I'm doing, and I just write them down. I didn't know what they meant.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I published a book.
Yeah.
I started speaking in Australia.
Yeah.
I sold my business.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, like this is like I'm actually crossing
Holy
things off.
Right. Your I am.
And I'm like,
that's
okay,
crazy.
this is weird. Like, how does this work? So I started learning a little bit more, and basically, our brains don't shut off, right? Our subconscious goes 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And whatever we say and whatever we think, our subconscious, when we go to bed, it doesn't go to bed like we do.
Right.
It's working.
It's going.
And it's constantly trying to make happen whatever you told yourself. So it's like, I golf, right? So when you golf and you miss a putt, first thing you hear someone say is, I knew I was going to miss that. Well, you just told
yourself you're going to miss it. Of course you were going to miss it.
Because your brain doesn't know the word don't. Don't miss it. Don't miss the shot.
It's just miss it.
Don't screw up. Don't screw up. And then you screw up like, I knew I was going to screw up.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, if you take those and you start putting them in a positive tone of like, I'm a, whatever it is, I'm in the best shape of my life.
Right.
I whatever the case may be, you do these, and your brain is constantly looking. And it's called your reticular activating system. It's called your RAS, and that's basically your filter. So I'll give you an example. You're a mom. You're in the mall. You don't even have your kids with you, and all of a sudden you hear a little girl scream out, "Mom!" You're going to turn around. If I am someone who doesn't have any kids, I'm not even going to hear that. It's not in my filter.
No,
It's kind of like when you buy a car, right? Next thing you know, you buy a red Corvette. You're driving down the street, you see another red Corvette. You see another red, you're like, what the hell? Like, I've never seen these before.
It happens all the time. It's such a weird phenomenon, I'm telling you. So that's really what it is. This is what it is.
That's what it is. It's in your filter. And so
totally.
what you focus on becomes your reality.
Love that.
And that's the thing.
That one statement by T. Harv Eker, what you focus on expands.
Absolutely.
It stuck with me, and it literally, to this day, I see it come to fruition. You taught us the declarations, or the I am statements. I call them declarations, and I do them every single day. If I miss a morning, I'm off.
Yeah, you feel a certain way.
It does.
Like,
you're not in your groove. So then I'm like, and then I figure out, oh shit, I was rushing. I'm off. I didn't train my brain to change the narrative, to tell myself all these things. But it's so true, because last year, all of our declarations were, I'm going to be a homeowner in Kailua in 2022.
Yeah.
Look where we're sitting.
Never had this house.
Never thought about it. Yeah.
That's just one of them.
And it's crazy how the universe, or whatever you want to call it, God, universe, whatever.
I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
All of it works to make it happen.
And so, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but I always have people write a letter, right? So, and I learned this, and for the people watching, they can learn this as well, is if you take today, right, you're watching this video, and you go and you write a letter dating it 1 year from today, or you can date it December 31st, whatever you want. And you basically write the letter to yourself of what you have accomplished this year. So again, if you don't know what to say, you can make it health, wealth, and relationships. You can say like, okay, I've traveled on 5 vacations this year with my family, had the best time in the world. I've got to see, and you're saying what you've done like it's already happened.
Okay.
I went on 5 vacations. We went to Wyoming. We went to Dallas. We went to here. Had a great time. I made $3 million in asset purchases this year. I'm on track to make $10 million next year. So you say it as if it's already happened. And the more detailed you can be in the description, the more likely it is to happen. Because again, your brain is already going, okay, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to find happen.
Go.
So all of a sudden you start hearing about vacation in Wyoming. You're like, we should go. Or you would never have heard that, right?
Totally.
Or you meet someone and like, yeah, I got an Airbnb in Wyoming. You're like, you know what? I want to book that.
Yeah.
So many people, and it happened to me too, all of a sudden. And so what I tell people is send me the letter, and I will send it self-addressed, stamped, closed, and put it in another letter. And I will mail it back to you December 15th.
And watch what happens.
And you would be it's scary.
That's so crazy.
And I've had people reach out to me. They're like, hey, I just found that letter I wrote to myself last year. And I was going through my stuff. And they're like, all the things I wrote down actually happened. They're like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, it's not me, obviously. But I'm like, it's your filter. It's your reticular activating system.
Activating
It's science.
Raz. That's
it's
so
science.
crazy. Dude, we are gonna do that. We are gonna do that. Literally, like this week, we'll do that. And we'll have you back on the podcast in December, and we'll read that letter together. That would be such a fun exercise.
Let's make that happen.
And so here's what you do: take it, mail it to me, closed up. I don't read it. I've got a stack of them on my desk. And I mail them back to the people, and they get it in the mail because they're like,
what is this?
How did I write a letter to myself? It's from me to me. And then they do it, and they're like, holy shit, like this all happened, or a good portion of them. Some people exceeded those things. And so you go like, wow, what if I did this every year? Where would we be?
Dude, we got to do it.
Well,
that's going to be awesome.
You're writing your next chapter.
Writing the next chapter. Exactly.
That's so cool.
Exactly.
So on that of achieving things and, hitting milestones, what is the biggest triumph or success you've had in your journey thus far?
Boy, that's a good question. I've had a lot. If I was more personal, I would say it's my son buying his first rental at 14 years old.
That's so
that
cool.
was cool.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Really, just because you're transferring wealth.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, as real estate investors, we're really good at entrepreneurs in general. We're really good at learning information. We listen to these podcasts. We do these things. We read books. We get this information, but we fail to actually transfer it to the people we're doing it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're selfish in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wish I could say that I had this design set up for my son. It wasn't. He was just around me, listening to podcasts, going to the radio shows with me. And he's like, I want to own a rental property because I want to have the life that you and mom have. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, you are listening.
Yeah, he can help you with that.
They're sponges. They're sponges.
Yeah, I know.
And I had him listening to like Grant Cardone University, and I had that was his chores. Like he had to listen to one video a day.
I love it.
That was part of his chores.
Oh, I'm going to add that to the chore.
That's so cool.
That was just like you have to listen to 10 minutes a day of something.
Yeah.
And that was your chores, or one of them. And so to me, that is a great achievement. Personally, I would say like business-wise and what I do with coaching people, like you guys, seeing this is great. I mean, you see people who start and don't know. It's kind of like the first time somebody goes, snowboarding or playing baseball or golf. And then you see them maturing through the process. And then all of a sudden they're teaching people. Like I'm sure you guys are going to be, if you're not already, helping other people, teaching other people. That's the evolution, right? First you learn it, then you do it, then you teach it.
Yeah.
And so to me, I love giving back. I love being able to help people. You guys know, anyone who reaches out to me, I always answer their questions.
Totally. Yeah.
And people are like, is that really you? I'm like, well, who else?
Yeah.
It's a robot.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That resonates with us. And I think that's why we gravitated towards you in the first place, right? Because we share that same kind of vibe. But
and you're a straight shooter.
Yeah, we love that. We love that about you.
Yeah.
What you just said though, like really hit a spot for me. The part about your kids, right? Because I talk about this all the time. Like we're creating something that we can then pass on to our kids. But then you made me think. I'm like, but what am I doing right now to actually, instead of just handing them something, right? Yeah. Like what do I have in place right now to set them up for whatever it is that they want to go into?
And so I'll give you an example. I tell people, even you guys are very fortunate because spouses working together. That's not always the case,
right?
And so that's when I say that you need to have a board of directors in your business where the two spouses come together in the board. So you really want to think about how you're transferring this information. And if it's a spouse who's not involved, it's not like you want her to go doing this, but I think it's important that you bring them involved. Same thing with the kids. So I'll give you another example when you own a business, right? So a lot of people that own businesses, they're like, how do I get people engaged in what I'm doing to see my vision? I'm like, well, do they know your vision? No. I'm like, well, then I guarantee you they're not going to see it, right? And that's a given.
Right.
And so sometimes I'll tell people like, okay, why don't you, as a business, buy a piece of real estate and all the employees have ownership in it. And as a team, you guys analyze the deal, assess the deal. You're going to do the maintenance. You're going to take care of the rent comps. You're going to do this. And then everyone gets cash flow from the property. And everyone's buying into and as long as they work for you, they get that. If they leave, they don't get it. So it's kind of like pulling the handcuffs like a 401k plan. But it's a way to get people to buy in. So you could do the same thing with your kids. Right? I know people that do that with their kids. I'm like, they're never too young. Yeah. They may not understand everything, but that memory is deep-seated. Yeah. They're like, I remember going with my dad. Now, most people, they'll say, I remember going with my mom and dad and sweeping floors. And Ashley Kerr from Bigger Pockets.
Yes.
So I was coaching her in the beginning, and she was telling me, we were talking, and she'll tell you the story. She would tell me how she would take her kids on the job site. And I was like, oh, well, congratulations. What do you have them do? She's like, oh, I have them, cut wood and this and that, and they have a lot of fun. I'm like, oh, that's great. So basically you are teaching them to be employees.
I remember this.
Yeah. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, no, I'm teaching them real estate. I said, no. You're teaching them to trade time for money. You're not teaching them real estate. You're teaching them to be workers.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, but don't call it what it is.
Right.
You want to teach them to be real estate investors, teach them the numbers. Don't teach them to be hard workers. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And so again, don't be a grinder.
Be a hustler.
Right.
And she was like, wow, I never thought about that. I'm like, besides from giving them asbestos probably,
Yeah.
So, but she was like, that was a big turning point for her because she was like, you're right. She's like, I am doing that. I'm like, you're not doing them a favor.
Yeah. Right.
You're getting free labor, which I think is illegal. I'm not sure, but
it's a chore. It's a chore.
Yeah. Carry those 2x4s.
Yeah.
But again, you really think about what are you teaching them? And a lot of people say like, oh, real estate, I'm teaching them how to build a house. I'm like, that's fine. but do you spend as much time on the business structure and the accounting and the numbers? It's not up to you to say they won't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's your job to teach it to them.
Yeah.
And you can make it more simplistic. You can do it with apples and oranges, whatever you want.
Right.
But you've got to teach them the fundamentals, because they're going to get to an age where, like your kids, you have young kids, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You may think they're not getting it, but this is when their brains are expanding the
most. Right.
But yet you're still telling me that's not when they would learn this.
Right.
So which one is it?
So, why are you lying to? Why are you telling yourself that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. All right.
That's super cool.
Well,
okay.
we got to be like, we bought this with one apple, and now we have five
apples
out of it.
Yeah, exactly. As they take it and eat one.
Right.
Start small.
That's called taxes.
That's so cool.
That's so funny. So what are you working on now? What strategies are you focused on now?
Yeah, I'm like an onion.
I know. What layer?
So right now I work with a lot of real estate investors that want me to help them, get to that next level. And I work with a lot of business owners. So a lot of businesses I'm working with, getting them to the next level. And these are some businesses that are brand new. I was in SoCal last week with a company. They were in business for 32 years. And the guy was like, "We need you." He's like, "We need you to come in and restructure."
Yeah.
And a lot of what I do is not only from building a business, taking it, scaling it, and selling, but my airline background, doing it, showing them how to do the dance,
right?
Showing them what they should be doing versus what they should not be doing, because that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it could be a 5-minute conversation, or it could be 5 days of me with them. It just depends on what they need. So I'm trying to, again, when you look at chapters in your life, this chapter is me really educating and helping people.
Yeah.
And so I'm not out there swinging hammers and flipping and doing that, because I've got stuff in more passive deals with people we all know. I'm in deals with them. So I'm still doing deals. I'm doing them more at arm's length. But my skill set, what I'm good at, is getting people to think a different way. It's getting them to understand how they can be more successful with what they have, and getting them to understand what the best use of their time is. So that's kind of what I'm at now and where I'm going.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's funny because I was just going to ask you, and I think you might have just answered it. If you believe in superpowers, right? If everybody has a superpower, and if that's what you think, you know what I mean, what your superpower is.
Yeah, I would say mine is... First of all, I would say it's connecting people. You guys saw that last night, right? With people. I'm a
totally.
and I believe your network is your net worth.
Totally.
So that, but I would say my superpower is getting people to see things that they didn't see. And seeing that light bulb just pop.
Yeah.
Like when we were sitting here, I could tell with things I was saying.
Yeah.
And I could tell. It's you're like
boom.
Yeah. So seeing that, and again, it's not that I'm any smarter than anyone else. I just have a different way of looking at things and maybe explaining it in a different format that your brain all of a sudden picks up and goes, man, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my superpower.
Nice.
I love that. So with all the things that you're doing, I'm assuming you have a team that backs you. I know you don't do it alone.
Yeah.
So what does your team look like?
I do have a team. Well, as you guys know, from building my business, I was big into the virtual assistant world.
Right.
So I have one girl, Daniela. Anyone who's ever talked to me gets to her first, because she is my gatekeeper. She takes care of me. And so Daniela she's my virtual assistant in Mexico. She's been with me almost 5 years now, from the time I had the company to today.
Yeah.
And I mean, she buys back time in my life. I mean, she literally, 40, 50 hours a week, she buys back for me, because she takes care of all the things that I am not good at.
Right.
I don't have the time to do. So I have that. I recently made her get her own VA. So she has her own VA, because I believe in leverage. I tell her, I don't want you doing that. I need you doing this, and your hours are full, so leverage it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she has other VAs that she'll have jobs that we need done for her. I've paired up with Lightspeed VT, which is Brad Lee's company. And so I have a bunch of video content on Lightspeed. And the guy who helps me with all my marketing and funnels and all that stuff, he came from there, but he works, I don't want to say for me, he works with me, educating me and getting me on different stages and platforms.
Got it.
I've got another guy who basically gets me in front of high-level people, high-level conversations. He's got his reach is
wide,
huge.
Yeah.
And so he gets me in front of very, very big influencers and people. The Ed Milets of the world, and that's
right.
those people.
Yeah.
And then I have a social media guy. And
nice.
So the social media guy is the one who does all of my content. I create the content and he does that. So, I am a big believer. Again, if you want to grow, you've got to have a team and you've got to leverage that team.
Right.
And the best use of my time is in front of the camera, not doing post-production, just not what I'm good at.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I love that. I mean, we're in the process of building out more of our team so that I can be like, nope, that's not me. That's somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's probably another in-depth conversation of how to build that team out and how to the employees and how to get them, because people work for people because they're inspired. They don't come for a paycheck.
Right.
They want to see the vision and they want to be inspired by someone.
Yeah, believe in it.
Because if it's just a paycheck, when they get a bigger paycheck, they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And so, they want to believe. And so people don't understand that, if you see a company or a person that is always turning through people, it's bad leadership.
Right,
and
right.
it starts from the top down. And so people don't understand that. And they think like, oh, I get shitty employees. It's like, you don't have shitty employees. You're shitty.
You're shitty. Yeah.
You're a shitty owner.
Right.
And so again, it's that again, that's another conversation, but I think it's important. I think it's vital to have that right team and right structure. And, again, it's on you as the leader to build that out. People mistake leadership for management. And it's a big mistake people make. Yeah. A leader inspires people. They have the vision. They tell everyone, we're going to run up this hill and we're going to charge the hill, and everyone's running behind you because they're fired up. Yeah. The manager says, get up that fucking hill or you're fired.
Right.
And
big difference.
Big difference. And you need both people in a company, but you need to know when you need to be which one.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people think like when you're yelling at people, I'm leading them. You're not leading them, you're managing them.
So leader, manager.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It normally is the case.
I can see that.
I have to have the win.
He can be the nice guy. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's great.
If it was up to me, but it's not.
Yeah.
So,
Even with the kids, right?
Hey, yeah. You know it.
It's all good. Visionary and integrator. I got it. Do you still own rentals?
I do. I have some assets in Houston. I've moved a lot of assets into, I was in a deal, or I still am in a deal with Brandon.
Nice.
Open door. I'm in a self-storage facility with AJ Osborne.
That's awesome.
I've invested in some software companies. So I'm in some, there's a company out there called Privy. And it's kind of like a, like the batch leads or the prop stream.
Yeah. Totally.
Of those.
Yep.
So I people come to me and they have ideas and they want to give me ownership with either my influence or help and knowledge and building and making connections. And
right.
So I'm in different things, different transactions.
Now you're a venture capitalist.
Yeah.
The deal's right, I'm in.
Right.
There you go.
I love that. I mean, so I guess the last question is what kind of impact or what's the last message you want to tell the audience?
Yeah, any last words you kind of want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I think it's really just a matter of taking action, but taking focused and intentional action, right? Don't just go out there and, I tell people I'm a motivator. I'm an educator. I'm not a motivator. A motivator just makes you do stupid shit faster.
Yeah.
That's not me. I don't want you running down the street telling I just bought $1 million house, but I've never done this before and I've got $2 in my pocket.
Yeah.
So it's be action oriented, but be focused and intentional.
Love that.
And really, really think about your actions when you take them and what the repercussions are. And that to me is the key.
Yeah, I love that because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I hear that all the time. You just got to take action. You just got to take action. But it's not just action. It's not just
action,
Yeah, you have to take that focused, intentional action. I think that is missing in a lot of people when they're first starting.
Absolutely.
Now you got to add that, right? Because we always say take daily consistent. Now you got to take daily consistent focused
intentional action.
Intentional. Yeah. It's like getting in the car. You don't just get in the car and drive around. You get in the car because you have a destination of where you want to go.
Right.
That's focused and intentional.
Love that.
And
that's super cool.
That a lot of times, you're right. A lot of people say like, just take action.
Just take action.
Well, I bought a strip mall and I don't even know what to do with it.
I paid $1 million too much for it, and
I took action. It's like, well, that was stupid. Like you didn't tell me that part.
Right.
Right.
So do you have a mentorship? Cool. Do you? I know you have the coaching, right?
I do. I'm actually starting a new process of doing a 3-day mastermind for people. So what I'm doing is I've had a lot of people asking me, and again, my challenge, obviously, when I coach people is time, fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And so I've been really wrestling with how to, my calendar is slam packed full. Yeah. I'll be in Tokyo, Japan up at 3 a.m. because I've got coaching and that's my obligation. They're paying for me. So that's the deal. Yeah. So I'm going to switch it to a 3-day mastermind where people fly out. Maybe I get 10 people, and we take their business model, we tear it down to the studs and rebuild it as the business of where they want to go. Yeah. And so we do this for 3 days. And then after that, I give them unlimited, unfiltered access to me for a whole year.
Wow.
Or till they made their money back.
So nice.
If it takes them 2 years or 3 years, they get me. So my thing is like, look, you will get me until you make the money back.
Right.
And so again, it's one thing to come for me for 3 days and then they leave and they're wide-eyed and they're like okay, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Now I need to do. Yeah.
Now it's sitting on the shelf and they're just staring at it every day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now we need to put intentional action on
it.
And so that's what I do is I help them and I'm giving them that focus and we tear it down and rebuild it to make the dance. Yeah. As an airline, right? For them, for their business, for their goals. And these are other like-minded or not even investors. These are business owners.
Right.
You want to, we talked about this the other day. Do you want to be an investor or a business owner?
Yeah.
And so you've got to disassociate your identity as a real estate investor and get the identity as a business owner. And you want to be with other business owners that are talking business conversations. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being pigeonholed, but I learned being an airline pilot, if that's all you do, that's your depth of scope.
That's all you get.
That's all you get.
Yeah.
And the challenge with that is, if you say, I talk to people all the time, I'm a real estate investor. So if a software company came and you could make a lot of money doing that, would you not do it? No, because I'm a real estate investor. I'm like, you don't understand what's the goal of doing that.
Right.
Because you've told yourself you're a real estate investor, not a business owner. A business owner sees opportunities where they lie.
Yeah.
A real estate investor only sees real estate. And there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But again, what's the goal of doing this?
Yeah.
And so that's what I teach people, to be business owners and take advantage of everything when it's in your filter.
Right. If it's in your filter,
deals start coming your way and you start noticing them, and that's where it goes.
Love that. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right on.
So where can people find you?
Yeah, where can people find you?
Well, any social media channel. They can go on Instagram, Rozenberg, ROZENBERG, Steve. Then they can go to Facebook. They can go to YouTube. I load about 1 new video a day on my YouTube channel.
Nice.
And they can go to my website, which is steverozenberg.com. They can look me up there, and there's many, many ways they can find me if they want to shoot me a message, if they have a question. I'm not going to charge you to talk to me if you just say, hey, man, I like the video, I like the podcast. Can you explain a little bit more about this? Can you talk about that? I'm happy to do it, because I was there once too, just like you guys were. We were all sitting in that chair, nervous and scared, wanting to know what the next steps were. So I get it.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to help people understand how to cross that. People talk about crossing the goal line. How about just crossing the starting line?
Right.
Yeah.
We know where we want to go. How about just getting out the fucking door?
Just taking a step.
Totally.
Yes. And so that's why I help people get.
Yeah,
nice.
Love that. Well,
so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've been such a big impact on our lives, and I'm so stoked that you're on the podcast.